Patrick, Emmett, Sebi, the dream team forensic scientists tutored by the fabulous Captain Panna.
Yo, Sebi.
What's up, Sebi?
What's up, team? I'm just working on identifying the blood from last week's case.
Nice.
You ready for another day of solving?
Alright. So what we have here is basically a bunch of little shards of glass, and what we can determine based off this is that the explosion or grenade or whatever type of gunpowder use mechanism was used from the inside, and what happened was the initial shockwave sent it out, the vacuum created by the explosion sent it back in, and then finally bursting it back out was the wave of wind, pushing all the little shards out back.
So it appears our victim has died from catching on fire, and we must check his temperature to record his time of death.
Here we appear to have the fragments of the IED used by the perpetrator to commit this crime. Here we have the remains of a victim to the explosive device that remain unidentifiable because of how damaged the body was. Now we have unidentified blood that was found adjacent to the victim in the same room.
As we return back to the lab, the dream team individually focuses on their specialties. First, we begin with tool marking. So, the analysis of tool marking. The first thing we're looking at is the crime scene. This mold right here shows two very large, stronger dents implied by much force with a drag and scratches with the same width and diameter. There is also a slight dent in the shape of two bubbles, one smaller to the left, one larger to the right, on the front of the door beside the door frame where the two holes were. The first tool marking we compared to the crime scene was a wrench. When we pressed and applied the same force of direction with a wrench into a door frame, we received two larger dents with drag on the left and right side creating scratches, the left side becoming more of a sharp angle, while the right side staying the same diameter and width as the wrench itself. The following tool that we suspected of usage was the screwdriver. So, when finding a mold of a screwdriver and applying the same amount of pressure to a door frame as the crime scene, we received a plus dent as well as drag on the top left side, bottom left side, and bottom left middle. We have ruled out the screwdriver and the wrench as possible suspects. The final tool suspect was the crowbar. When we used a heavy crowbar against a door, it pierced the door frame with two large, deep pieces, and when dragged with the same amount of force, it created the exact same drag scratches and pry marks that was seen at the crime scene. Additional door markings also matched. Two bubble dents were provided on the front of the door, not the frame, just like we saw at the crime scene. This has given us our suspect, and the crowbar has been identified as the tool of choice.
After cleaning off the charred remains of our victim that was in close proximity to the initial blast, I was able to identify wound marks that are shallow markings consistent with pieces of shrapnel flying at high velocity and scratching the bone. I've also been able to identify multiple characteristics based off measurements and qualitative observations of these bones. The sloped forehead, square jaw, and narrow pelvis all lead me to believe this is a male victim. We also know that the victim's race is Caucasian, based off of the rounded orbital openings and nasal ceiling present in the skull. With the epiphyseal fusion in the humerus complete, we can also determine that this victim was at least 25 years of age and at most around 40. With a humerus length of 32.2 centimeters, we determined that this white male victim was 5'6". After viewing the blood sample found at the crime scene under a microscope, I was able to determine that it was in fact human blood by comparing with reliable resources. By completing the blood typing of the crime scene blood and the blood of our 3 prime suspects, I was able to determine that the crime scene, both the crime scene and Mr. Spring's blood types are AB negative, meaning that he is our only suspect that matches blood found at the crime scene.
So it appears that this fire debris is tested for the liquid chlorine trifluoride.
Okay, and what exactly does this chemical mean? What does it entail?
This chemical is very hard to access and requires a lot of skill, knowledge, and experience to operate effectively.
Oh.
This means that our suspect likely has some kind of connection and is possibly has some kind of past of using it. So it appears the victim has died from the inhalation of smoke, and the manner of death was homicidal due to the fact that it was caused by arson.
When examining our autopsy, we used the post-mortem interval to calculate the amount of time that the victim has been dead for, which was 1 hour. The body was found in the stage algor mortis.
Alright team, so Captain Panayiotou has told me to develop a profile for an arsonist. The typical profile for an arsonist is described as a white male with 58.7% of fire started before the age of 18 and 79.7% before the age of 29. 71% of fires are reported with the suspect having prior felony arrest.
Oh, greetings, Mr. California. Please, have a seat. Okay, I hope you're having a good day. I just have a few simple questions I need to ask you. So, firstly, do you know what you're doing here today?
Sorry, officer. I got no clue. Honestly, I'm really tired.
All right, Mr. California. That's the right answer indeed. It seems you're used to this from being here so often. Okay, then, I guess we'll just get right into it with you. So, what were you doing 2 days ago on January the 20th?
January 20th? I don't even know what day that is. 2 days ago, though. There was a football game. I was watching football, laid back, few beers, pizza, wings. That was a great night. Okay, so watching football, eating pizza. And was this at your residence, Mr. California? Yes, okay, your house. All right, next question then. We'll be moving on shortly since you're a professional, I guess. So, what is your relation to the officer James West? Jeez, James West. He is an officer, isn't he? Yeah, he ditched me at Best Buy. A few years back, we used to work there. Little kids, teens running around. Good times. Okay, so past co-worker, basically. And then, did you and Officer James West ever have any altercations? Any disputes? Anything? Maybe over something minor, something major? All right, one last thing, Mr. California. Have you ever visited the St. Rogers luxury watch store? Or have you ever owned one of their watches? Bit of a dumb question, officer. I have seen it, I have walked by. Looks like a very nice store, but I've never dared to walk into it. No way. I will be good with my G-Shock watches. Okay then, Mr. California. Yeah, I believe that is all. Thank you for your time. You are excused. And on your way out, would you please tell Mr. Black to make his way in here?
Good morning, officer.
All right, Mr. Black. I'm sure you are very, very questioned and confused about why you are here. I have high respect for your record and how clean you have been and how much of a good citizen, but we can't rule out anyone as a suspect. Okay, so we figured out that you match the profiling almost exactly. There's just a few things we need to ask you, more specifically about the victim, Officer James West. We would like to know, what are your relationships or relations with this man? Oh, yeah, Officer James West. I heard he graduated and got into policing. That's great, but at university, before he went to the Army, obviously, or into the Navy training camp, we used to play on the football team together. He was a pretty good guy. Loved his catches. He'd catch anything I threw at him. Good man. Okay, so you and James had nothing but good relations, correct? Okay, that seems great. One more thing. What were you doing 2 days ago, January 20th? January 20th. 2 days ago, I had about 4 or 5 clients come in for chiropractic sessions. I was dealing with them. That's about it that day then. All right, that sounds all good. We will check up on that for sure. We'll get in contact with your clients. Last thing, do you know anything or have you ever bought a watch from the St. Rogers luxury watch store? It is very popular and you got great style. Honestly, officer, I feel a little bit disrespected. For me personally, I don't like to buy certain luxury items that I personally think are a bit of a waste of money. So, no, I stay clear from stores like that. Okay, Mr. Black, that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for coming in. And if you don't mind, on your way out, sending in Mr. Spring. Thank you so much for your time again, sir. Have a good day. Oh, my God, officer. You're wasting my time. I have somewhere to be right now. Excuse me, Mr. Spring. That is no way to greet an officer, first of all. Second of all, you are here for good reason, good analysis, good statistics. Our forensics team is very, very, very talented. So, what were you doing 2 days ago on January the 20th? January 20th. Oh yeah, so I woke up pretty early that morning actually. Ate some breakfast, usually a nice breakfast, like eggs, toast, like bacon maybe. And then usually I go to the gym in the morning, so definitely did that. And then January 20th, that was a Saturday? No, that was a Thursday. So I had my part-time job that day and I worked there and yeah, that's about it. Thank you for the whole breakdown, Mr. Spring. Wasn't necessary, but I do appreciate the detail. Let's just move on. So, what are your relations to the officer James West? Oh, so it's officer now. Okay. I remember James West. Yeah. I went to police academy with him before I dropped it. He was a nice guy, honestly, nothing but laughs with him. He was pretty good. I think he enjoyed my company as well, but it was short-lived. It's all right, but he was a good guy in the end. You know what? For a man that doesn't want to be here, you are providing me with some fantastic detail. I appreciate it. So let's just get moving. Last thing, do you own a watch from the St. Rogers luxury store? Oh, yes. I know about St. Rogers. I see it quite often on my walks home. It's a very, very nice store. I've never actually purchased something from there, but I see the watches are very, very nice in my opinion. Well, I appreciate your answers very much. And you're free to go now. Look at that. Very quick, you're very concise. I appreciate it once again. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. Good work today. Based on all of our evidence collection and analysis, who do we think is the prime suspect?
Based off of my blood typing work done, I believe that Mr. Spring's blood is the blood found at the crime scene.
All right, and Emmett?
After analyzing all the profiles of the suspect and the profile of the pyromaniac that I've seen at the evidence collection, I've concluded that I believe that it's Mr. Spring.
Mr. Spring, okay. Based on my interviews, I also believe that Mr. Spring is the suspect. Should we report to Captain Panna?
I think
Right
so.
away.
Okay. That is how